My name is Bree and we are currently at the Bridal Finery here with Shannon from Wedding Venue Map. We're super excited to have her here. We have some really great tips coming up about venue hunting and all the things you need to know when searching for your venue. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to share all the helpful tips about venue searching.
Awesome. It's going to be great. There's a ton in Central Florida, so we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we have over 400 venues to choose from here in our market of all different types and sizes and shapes and what's included and not included. So it'll be good to share some help.
Awesome. We're super excited.
You can go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with a few questions.
I'm ready.
So where are a few places couples should look when researching venues? What are a couple search tool suggestions?
So when you start that venue search and that venue hunt out there, most people go to Google first and they'll type in, you want to try to be as specific as you can with the words that you're searching for. So if you want an outdoor venue or a waterfront venue, or, if you really want it in a specific city,
right?
You want to search, if you want Winter Park or Orlando or whatever, but know that if you want the biggest range, searching by Orlando wedding venues is going to give you the widest range of our Central Florida market.
Gotcha.
Start to finish. So Google's a great place to start.
Okay.
Obviously you've got online directories like Wedding Venue Map and some of the other national directories. And then Instagram, that's like my secret. The secret tip is to go into Instagram and use the hashtag search.
Okay.
And search Orlando wedding venue in the hashtag, because not only will you get the venues that post there, but our local wedding pros do such a great job of tagging that.
Right.
So you'll see photographer posts and florist posts, and so you'll get a much wider range rather than just kind of who ranks for the Google words.
Perfect. That's very smart. How much of the wedding budget should be allocated towards the venue?
It's a tough question. Budget is always the hardest part, and it's like the very first thing couples do when they're searching for the venue. They haven't always really established that budget piece. So
Absolutely.
It's important to have the conversation first before you start looking for a venue. You should talk to whoever's contributing, right?
Okay.
Sometimes it's parents, sometimes it's just you, but you want to at least know how much a range of what you've got to work with.
Absolutely.
And then when you look at the venue, there's a few different styles as you're booking the venue. So you've got the venue that's venue only, meaning that you just pay one rental fee.
Right.
It's usually venue, tables, chairs, the basics. And so, that would be a lesser chunk of the budget.
Right.
But I'd say almost half the venues here in Central Florida are venue, food, and beverage.
Correct.
And so if you're looking at venue, food and beverage is usually the biggest chunk of the wedding. So venue, food, and beverage can be almost 50%
Okay.
of the total budget. So it just really depends on if you're looking for something that's just empty space and you're gonna build it all. If you're looking for venue, food, and beverage, and even some of the venues include some other categories.
Gotcha.
So, all of that will kind of have an effect depending upon what you're hunting for.
So you gotta have the conversation first.
Yeah, you gotta have the money
Just
talk.
eat the frog and do it.
Eat the frog, have the money talk, because if you don't do that before you start searching, as somebody who used to work at a venue and tries to help people find a venue, if you don't know
it's
what
hard.
the costs are, it's really like sometimes you go and see things that you're in love with, but you can't afford it. And that's it's heartbreaking. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. And what would you say are some current trends in wedding venues right now?
That's a good question. I think finding venues, today's couple planning a wedding is busy.
Yes.
They have a lot going on. The average mid-20s is sometimes working one job with a side hustle or a job that's a 60-hour week job. It's not that 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. So I think finding venues that offer those extra services and that extra level of service, meaning whether they include a planner in their package or, they have other things that they can make your life really easy so that you can kind of just check that box and move on.
Gotcha.
But venues like that come with a price tag. So, it's understanding that the more help you need, there's always the option of hiring a wedding planner, which is highly recommended, always hiring a planner. But so I think it's interesting to see couples looking for more help up front.
Okay.
And saying
that
as
makes
they're
sense.
looking for a venue and really looking to the venue to help guide vendor recommendations, planner recommendations and things like that. I also think that I think that the barn venue trend is never gonna go away. Like, you know, I think that, you know, Central Florida, we're very blessed. New barns have been opening.
Yeah.
You know, the tried and true barns have all up-leveled their games. They've done things like, especially we had a little bit of time last year, so they've bought new inventory, upgraded ready rooms and floors and things like that. But there's so many different options now. You know, when the barn trend first came, it was really only, you know, the barn, farm, ranch style. There was really only like 2 or 3 to pick from.
Yeah.
And so now there's a lot that fits within that style. You can go like as country as you want with cows in the background, or as like bougie, sparkly chandeliers and still have that rustic vibe.
And air conditioning.
And air conditioning. We have lots of barns with air conditioning, which is one of the search filters that we use on Wedding Venue Map.
That's really smart.
Yeah, so we found the barn, farm, ranch. A lot of people wanted them, but they wanted AC. So we added like one of the amenity filters.
That's so smart.
Is air conditioning, so you know which ones have it, which ones don't.
Perfect. And when do you recommend couples should start looking for their wedding venue and booking after getting engaged?
Yeah, this is definitely a hot topic too right now, because with everything that happened in the postponements from last year to this year, you know, 2021 got real full real fast. So anybody at the start of 2021 who thought they were going to get married this fall, there was nothing left.
Yeah.
So they all shifted to 2022. So if somebody just got engaged right now and is looking to get married in 2022, they got to move like fast, because in the wedding industry, we call it engagement season. It happens really in between Thanksgiving and Valentine's Day is the heaviest shift of new proposals that happen, and they get engaged and they start looking for venues. So if I was currently engaged, like before engagement season, I would make sure to get my venue locked in before that really hits in November. I was talking to a few couples at the show Sunday. It was like, oh God, move. Like you've got to go. Like stop putting it off to be able to have the availability. But I would say if you want like a lot of flexibility on date and your preferred date, going in between 12 to 18 months out for your venue. I mean, 18 to 24 would be ideal, but I know not everybody plans that far. So 12 to 18 months would be like the ideal in terms of looking, but also being realistic that if you're looking within 12 months, you either have to be really date flexible or you have to be willing to look at other options because the availability might not be there.
Perfect. And then what would you say is next after the venue?
I mean, the trend has definitely shifted and changed over the years. Like venue wasn't always the first thing. It still sometimes isn't the first thing, but as soon as you've solidified the venue, next up would be dresses. I would recommend, you know, if you're planning on wearing a wedding dress for your wedding day, like that would be the next thing to go look for, because there is time in ordering. And if you want to make custom changes and alterations, you know, depending upon where that bridal salon gets its dresses from, you know, we know there's supply issues all over the country right now. Like you can't even get some of the food in the grocery store. So, you know, it's important to kind of go and have that experience, find the one bridal shop that makes the best sense, that meets your needs and is giving you that level of service, and go in there, check that off the list. Sometimes dress and attire, even if you're gonna do tuxedos, you know, we've got an amazing shop here in Central Florida called Leonardo's that they do custom suits and tuxes.
And they're incredible. So
good, but custom takes time. So, you know, not also putting off that as an option. And then right behind that, I would say is probably photography. So like dress and photography are probably your first two to make sure you kind of get those boxes checked right behind it. Then you can breathe a little bit.
Perfect. And then what are some of the most important factors to consider when venue searching?
Yeah, you know, you get engaged, and I see this a lot when I'm talking to couples on Instagram or over at wedding shows, and you get engaged and it's like, now I'm looking for venues. And sometimes when we start asking questions, you know, trying to help them, they like haven't really had that talk yet. So step one is guest count. Figuring out, getting with, you know, both sides of the family, what's everybody's list of people, and actually putting pen to paper or making a spreadsheet, because sometimes they are like, oh, 100 to 125, And I'm like, have you made the list?
Talked to everyone?
Have you talked to all sides of the family?
Right.
Have you made the actual list of?
So it can make a huge difference. Not like being off, with the guest count.
Yeah, it'll affect food and beverage, your whole budget all the way through, and the size of the venue.
Yeah.
So if you in your head think it's 100, well, there's a lot of venues that fit 100 to 125 that don't fit 150.
Right.
So making all of that work. We've got a great question coming in that we'd like to help to answer.
Bree, this one's for you. How long do wedding dresses take? What if my wedding is in 2 months? What if my wedding is in 2 years?
Okay, so here at the Bridal Finery, we have 2 really great options for our brides. So we do carry a collection of off-the-rack dresses. So those are dresses you theoretically could leave with same day. They're all dresses that we've partnered with from other boutiques and designers. So they're beautiful, brand new dresses at a designer brand at a little bit more of an affordable cost. And those are available right away. We also have a reorder collection in our boutique that is more of a 6 to 9 month process because we work with designers who are based in the US and Canada. So we can accommodate brides from 2 weeks away to 2 years away. So we have a really great, easy process, especially with an in-house seamstress as well.
And that's such an important thing to remember at this shop, but you're not going to be able to find that everywhere. Yeah. So when somebody's trying to plan in that 2 month window, you can't always just walk in and buy the dress. And so making sure that you know what options locally are available for that is really key.
For sure.
Really key.
I agree.
So we definitely want to cover guest count. The other important thing I think to talk about is style and type of wedding.
Okay.
As they're starting to do that venue hunt, is like how formal, how relaxed.
What's important to you?
Is it black ties, suits, what's that? And then really kind of you and your fiance agreeing, having a healthy conversation and agreeing in advance. A healthy conversation.
That's good.
Because sometimes it's like, well, I want a barn, and your fiance's like, oh, I'd rather die than get married on a farm. So I think it's having a conversation and then really looking to see what meets both of your criteria and what criteria is important to you.
Right.
Do you want to bring in catering? Do you want something that's already included? And just chatting and kind of talking together before you start searching will help narrow it down a little bit quicker.
Awesome. Perfect. And then do you think that it makes sense to do the dress or the venue first? What's your experience with that?
I mean, I know the Bridal Finery might disagree, but I think that it's pretty important to choose the venue. Okay. Because while it's not 100% off base if you choose a big, beautiful ball gown and you love it and you have to have it, I mean, where we're at and the times we're in, it doesn't really matter. If you want to get married in your backyard in a huge, gorgeous, over-the-top princess dress, you do it. Nobody cares. But I do think, there's things to consider when it comes to your dress that you might want to think about, know from your venue in advance of what am I going to be walking through and how long can the dress be
where
and
am I getting
how
ready?
full, where are we getting ready and what do we have, and just having that general knowledge beforehand, and also the venue being a big chunk of the budget.
That's true.
It's having at least a general idea. So if you're gonna buy the dress first, at least shop the venues to gather some quotes and get some pricing, so you have a general idea of kind of where, how much you've got also to invest in buying the wedding dress. Perfect. Oh, question.
We have 2 questions. Shannon, what if you and your fiance are not agreeing on the same venue? Who makes the call?
Oh, that's a really awful question, and thank you for asking. I think that it's not about who makes the call. I think step 1 in marriage is going to be compromise. Compromise. So as 2 people who have backgrounds and have worked with couples and helping to find their venue, I think it's figuring out, if you can't decide on a style or agree on a space, having the conversation as to why. What is it that's missing or that you're looking for? And then really ranking what's the most important to you. So if the venue and flowers and cake is the most important to you, but your fiance is more worried about the music, the photography and whatever, maybe that's who gets to take the lead. But these are those healthy conversations to have before you get too far into wedding planning. Yeah.
What is an important question you should be asking a venue?
Oh, that's a great question too.
Before you sign the contract.
Before you sign the contract, okay. Step one is to read the contract. Like, let's start there. Like, I want you to look through and read every single line of it, because so often we find people like, well, I didn't know. And I'm like, I bet it's in your contract, right? So I need you to read it, start to finish, everything, and anything that the sales manager or the person you've met with there has told you or promised you, get it in writing in the contract. Because sometimes with a venue, sometimes there's turnover. If it's not privately owned and you're not meeting with an owner, Brie and I once upon a time both worked at a venue. And so, after I left, anything I just verbally said, the venue doesn't really have to accommodate it. So making sure that everything is in writing in the contract, or at least in email, so that you have that. But I think it's one more thing before you ask the next question. Got it. I think the questions to ask is really, what are things that people tend to upgrade, enhance, or add on that's outside the scope? Because when you're choosing a venue, to ask, what do couples normally upgrade? What do your other clients, as they add things, do they normally do uplighting, or what are they adding? Yeah. I think that's a great way to be able to work through the budget a little bit differently. So, do all venues have getting ready rooms for the bridal party? That's a great question, and not every venue has it. So I think that that whole ready room experience is relatively recent in the last 10 years that the venue including it. Most venues, including city-owned venues and city-run venues, most of them are 2 hours beforehand. So you're looking at potentially an additional cost. While those might be a less expensive venue, you're looking at an additional cost. Correct. Of having, renting a hotel room or a suite to get ready at. I think it's important to figure out how early can you get in, because you're booking the venue before you've thought about hair and makeup. Yes. And sometimes hair and makeup has to start at 8 a.m. And you might not even be able to get into the venue till 11. So while they may have this bougie, fancy ready room, you might not even be able to use it for most of the day. So trying to figure out how early can you get in? Is that something that you found? And I think it's important to understand what's going to be available as far as amenities. Is there going to be a dress rack? Is there going to be a steamer? Is there a hair and makeup chair? Just so you're aware of what you're getting into the morning of. You don't have people running to Target and everything. So just really knowing exactly what's included in your ready room to help the day of. Yeah, and think through the vibe of it. Yeah. Do you want music? Bring a Bluetooth speaker if they don't have some fun flowers, snacks, a pretty chase lounge. Yeah, there's all kinds of pictures and things you're gonna do in there. If they don't have a floor length mirror or enough, you want to make sure that you have cute hanger. Yes, have what you need, because there's lots of photo ops in those ready rooms. Yeah. Do you have any other questions from online? Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. Oh, just kidding. One more.
Oh, just kidding. Okay. Not a question.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you having me here today, and finding a venue is definitely the first step on that whole wedding planning journey. Awesome. And being able to help them along the way, going onto Wedding Venue Map, searching through all 400 venues in Central Florida. There is a specific venue I did have a question about. Yeah. The new space at Rollins. What can you tell me about that? Yeah. So if you haven't ever been or attended a wedding at Rollins, or been over at Rollins, Rollins in general has always had one of the most stunning chapels in Central Florida. That wasn't religious based per se. While it's a chapel, it's not Catholic, or it's not one religion specific. So they've had an amazing chapel for years. A lot of people have opted to get married there, but there was a lot of rules about that chapel, especially. It was you had to be an alumni, you had to be related to an alumni, things like that in terms of being able to book it. Well, over the last few years, Rollins has taken one of their buildings on property and now markets it as 1885 Events at Rollins. Awesome. It's a really cool indoor space. It's got this rotunda round atrium when you come in, really nice inside space, a little patio outside where you could do cigar bar or put the bar outside. It's got really pretty trees. And if you rent that space at Rollins, which they take care of all the food, all the beverage, the in-house catering team at Rollins takes care of all of that. But if you rent that space, you also have the ability to rent the chapel. So if you don't have an alumni in the family, if you're not an alum or didn't have access to that before, but you really love the look of that. So that's one of our new spaces here in Winter Park. Thank you so much, Shannon. It was great. I appreciate having you here. And if you guys have any questions, you can always DM us over on Instagram at Wedding Venue Map. Find me on Facebook, head over to the website. All the emails on there come directly to me. Perfect. Thank you. Thanks. Have a great day.